Oh,
You look ready.
oh, who's that? I'm
What's
just
up,
gonna.
Eric?
What's up? I look at it's professional badass and golfer Kayla Thompson. I just wanted to make sure that I was looking good. I'm sorry. I just
You're
want to make
looking
sure.
good.
Thank you.
Everything's looking good.
I appreciate it. Especially since I got you on the show. I've been wanting to get you on here. It's hard, Kayla, because for some reason the people that go after what they want and are badasses, it's hard for them to find time. I think I think maybe it's because they're not just sitting on their ass and being lazy, right?
That's probably right. They're
Right.
going after what they want.
Absolutely. And you are definitely, I mean, the epitome of that. I just, in your company, and I said this a few times, people have heard me say this over and over again with some of the people and the guests that I've had on here. Just being in your presence literally motivates me. I always, me and how you and I joke around, and I know my mom's listening to this stuff, but I always call people like you badass motherfuckers, the bass, right? And the thing is that it's not a negative connotation, because you can either think of it, no, I'm not talking that this is a bad person in life. I'm talking that this is somebody that really has a huge drive, goes after what they want, has been extremely successful in their life. And, it's been wonderful to be able to not just work with you and train with you, but just to be your friend and to talk with you, because it really does motivate myself. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. I know that you are extremely busy, and those are some of the things that I want to talk to you about is what it takes, because Kayla, I used to be a college athlete too, and I always thought, maybe that mindset where I was like, maybe I could be pro. And at that point, I was nowhere near ready, especially knowing what your schedule is and what it takes to get there.
Yes, it's a lot. But thank you first for having me on. I'm glad to be a part of the Daily Reps podcast. But you're right. Listen, everyone has things that they want to do, and you just really have to make time for it. There's not enough hours in the day for anybody, but when there's something you want, there's something you're after, you're going to figure out what you need to do to make that a priority and make time for it.
Yeah. And one kind of things that was kind of going through my mind was, what was the point or the age, or was it a person or something where, because like I said, I think a lot of us athletes kind of dance around with that idea of, or liking that idea of being a professional athlete, but where you were, committed and you were invested and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna put the time in and do this.
So I started playing golf a lot later than a lot of girls. I didn't pick up my first golf club until I was 12,
Oh.
thanks to my brother.
Mm.
He was the one that wanted to play. My dad's the only one in my family that really plays. But my brother wanted to play, and I'm still so competitive. I was like, well, if he's going to play golf, I've got to play golf, because I don't want my brother to be better at anything. Nothing. Zero. So that was my purpose to play golf at that time. And so I liked it. He didn't. And when I turned 14, I really kind of got serious about it. I started taking lessons on a regular basis, seeing a coach, really practicing hard, playing in tournaments. And that's when I also met my college coach, Coach Ho at UNCW. And kind of from that very first moment, she saw me as an athlete, not just a golfer. And that's one of the reasons why I've played a lot of sports, but golf challenges me in more ways than any of the other sports I've ever played. And that's one thing that draws me to it. You're never done. You're never, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're never done. You can always be better, putting, driving, iron shots, whatever it may be. And so that's really just the drive of trying to be the best I can be. you know, that's not over. You know, there's not really a person that put me there. It's just, I want to be the best I can be.
So you knew even at like that 13, 14-year age, you know what? I'm all in, and I'm gonna take it.
Well, at 13 or 14, I didn't know how good I could be. When I got to college, I was like, okay, well, I'm good enough to play in college. And then, you know, we had one of our assistant coaches, she played professionally. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something I want to do professionally. But, you know, even then you don't know, can you do it? Until you actually just keep on going. And, you know, you just got to give everything all you've got and see where that takes you. Unfortunately, as I'm giving it all I've got, I'm continuing along this path of professional golf. And, you know, until who knows how many majors, how many tournaments, how many Solheim Cups, Olympic appearances I have to make to say I made it. Because, you know, I don't think you just, you know, once you get there, you've made it. That's not making it for me. You know, it's not just, well, I've arrived. You know, it's that constant desire to get better. You know, Tiger Woods, look at all the tournaments he's won. You know, he's not like, well, I've made it. You know,
Right.
He's still working to get better.
Yeah, and golf is definitely something that can humble you quickly. And you mentioned Tiger Woods, and you watch it. You know, this guy's made it, and then, you know, and you and I talk about that the difference between golf and then that mindset. And what that mindset can do is really, you know, through his game off. And you know, you talked about being an athlete, and you know, I'm sure you probably, and just being able and training with you and working with you and knowing how you are, I'm sure you excelled in those sports. But golf is a complete beast all in of its own, you know, and it really has to do with that mindset. I know that I usually am really well, do really well in a lot of sports, except except golf. You know, I'll hit that thing down the middle. Oh, I got this. And the next thing I know, because it really is a lot of this. And that's what I've noticed about, you know, in our conversations with you. And I know, you know, when me and you are training and we're working together, that's one thing that we really kind of, besides the physical aspects of our training, but of getting in that right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes, for sure.
you know, and you were stating like the one time you were talking about to me that, you know, and that really just kind of blew my mind of, you know, and I've worked with golfers before when I was at UNCW as a strength coach. And, you know, first people will be like, you know, what a golfer is doing in there. I'm like, man, every sport, you know, the strength and conditioning is a huge portion of it. And I know that you are constantly doing it every day, maybe 2 times a day, you know,
Right.
but that mindset that you were talking, remember when you and I were working out on a program, and then you were telling me, you know, as we were talking about being in a position where, you know, all this stress was on you and you had to make a few putts or strokes or something, and it started getting all windy. And then, so I was like, oh my God, you know, you really have to train and then have that mindset of like, well, what if I'm, you know, 2 strokes down from the leader and I have that stress, and I now could think about winning, you know, all this money, and then I got the fans here, and then it starts raining and it starts, you know, so where it could throw you off. So you really have to kind of practice in putting your mindset in those different types of situations.
Right. And now that sounds like the perfect storm, but yes, you're trying to put yourself in a potential position so you can reflect back and go, listen, I've been here. I know what to do. Experience, you know, we talk about having this like library or toolbox to go back into. You know, I'll practice making short putts, you know, 3, 5, 6 footers going, this is to win the tournament or this is to qualify. But before I make that putt, I'll do 5 to 10 jumping jacks just to get my heart rate up and adrenaline going, because don't you think in that scenario, that's what's going to happen? You know, you're not just going to be calm as a cucumber like we're, you know, talking right now, just making a 3-footer. Like, okay, I've got to make a 3-footer right now. Like, no big deal. But you get your heart rate up, do some jumping jacks, get it up, and then make that 3-footer. And practice how you calm yourself. We've worked a lot with breathing exercises.
Right.
And that is something that I really work with in golf. When I'm on a tee box, everyone has first tee jitters. Like, Jack Nicklaus used to say, if you don't have a few butterflies in your stomach, then you probably don't care. And so it's good to have those butterflies. It just means you care. It's not that, you're scared. That can be excitement. But practicing, putting yourself in the most realistic situation and practicing in that is, to me, the only way that you can build experience without having to be at the lead of a tournament. You obviously don't want to miss that putt, but to go, okay, I know what to do next time, is figuring out how to practice at home and making it as real as possible.
And, you and I basically, because you live just right down the street, which is nice, but we really are in kind of like, I always refer to, my friends, especially being from up in New York and closer to the city, they'll be like, where are you? I'm like, and I always would say, cotton picking North Carolina. And they'd be like, what? I'm like, I'm out there where literally they pick cotton, So, it's not like you have a lot of, how would I say, like, more like the coaches or staff or golf courses surrounding you, and to see you from being way out here and not having that, so, what do you think that it is of that's different, or, where do you seek these coaches out? I know that you just play on some of the local golfing areas right here, to get you where you're at right now. Because like I said, we're kind of away from everything, and that's why, to have you and talk with you, and when you first told me that you were right down the street, I'm like, that was a mind blow to me, because that's what I kind of started thinking. I was like, oh my God, this girl way out here in Clarkton, and
Well, I'll tell you, I used to have that battle of going, I've got friends who are practicing and playing out of the nicest facility in North Carolina. Name it, and, that's where they're at. Mm-hmm. And I don't have access to this top-notch facility where the greens are always running, 10, 11 on a stem. The golf course is in pristine condition. You could have a PGA Tour event come in at any moment. And, yeah, their coach is 30 minutes away. But Maggie Will is from North Carolina, and Maggie won 3 times on the LPGA. She practiced and played out of Whiteville Country Club. Whiteville Country Club, back then, it's kind of like the courses that I'm playing out of now. It wasn't, the A-list golf course that, anybody who comes through Whiteville, that's their destination, but it got the job done. There's a lot of golf courses that, especially around this area, that definitely get the job done. Fortunately, when I was in college, I met my swing coach, Brad Kirkman, and we've been working together for 5 years now, five and a half years now. And that's been phenomenal. He's down at the Dustin Johnson Golf School. So it's like an hour and a half away. But even then, an hour and a half is not very far. I have friends who will fly to Arizona to see their coach when they live in Florida. They're flying somewhere to go see their coach. So the fact that I have someone like Brad, an hour and a half away that I can hop down, I normally see once or twice a week, that's still good. I practiced out of Land O'Lakes, out of White Lake. Very fortunate to have playing and practice privileges at River Landing in Wallace. So especially before a tournament, I'll head up there just because their greens are normally running a little quicker than around here. But you make the most. I could sit here and say, listen, I'm not playing out of this club every day of the week, and that's why I'm not going to make it. Or I can go, listen, this is what I've got. So anytime I go to a tournament, I go, wow, the course is just in phenomenal shape. When someone else is going, wow, these greens are bumpy. Or can you believe they've got a couple weeds in the fairway? And I'm like, yeah, it looks great. It's awesome. So it's all about perception, and when you want it, you don't care what's in your way. You'll throw a towel down, you'll throw a calm down. You're hitting hitting to that, you don't have to have some, $1 million short game facility set up. You find a way. And, I'm from the people you've talked to, the podcasts I've listened to, that's one thing all these people have in common. They find a way. They don't care what obstacles are in their way. It's like mountain move, or I'll go right through you. Determination is an amazing thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And all that song and dance that I was trying to get to that point is, because even myself, once I found out that you literally lived right down the street from me, and I think I was telling you about my struggles too when I was out here in cotton picking, North Carolina, but it was motivational in and of itself that I knew, oh my God, look at this girl right here who's at this level, who's right in the same spot that I am, and who's come such a long way. And so just knowing that, just that little bit in myself was motivation in and of itself to be like, all right, you know what? Hey, if Kayla is kicking ass here, I can kick ass as well. So, and then another thing that, through our conversations that has blown my mind and also inspires and motivates me is just your work ethic. And, how I was talking about, of dancing around the idea of being a pro, but oh my God, the amount of time that you spend. So I just want you to kind of take us through, and that's why, guys, I mean, we are extremely lucky that Kayla is sitting down with us because your day is crazy. In my eyes,
Well,
I wouldn't say crazy. I would say it is packed to the hilt, and you are working nonstop and doing, and I know a busy woman.
yes. Well, part of that is this is no longer a hobby. This is a job. The job you work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's what's expected of me. This isn't, well, I play golf for fun. No, this is a job. And until you can look at it like that way, things may seem excessive or a bit much, but truthfully, that's what it is. And you've got to be willing to go, listen, this requires gym time, and this requires, running, sprints, speed training. That's a big thing right now. We talked about that recently is, the game's only getting longer, and you don't want to be on the back end of that. So, speed training is something that's taken up a lot of my time right now. Where that's swinging speed sticks 3 times a week to try and increase my club head speed. That's a different workout in the gym that I'm doing right now, trying to activate some fast switch muscles and just overall continue to build strength from the ground up. There's so many aspects that go into this. It's not just what I do when I'm at the golf course. There's books I'm reading at night. Bob Rotella, P. and Lynn with Vision 54. There's a nutrition aspect that is a whole science, to what you need pre-tournament, during your tournament rounds, post rounds, and then recovery for the next tournament. Because, when you're on the road, you're out there for a couple weeks and, okay, tournaments this week, and then I've got 2 to 3 days to kind of recover before we go again. What do I need? Was it really hot? We've got to work on hydration, making sure we're properly hydrated for the following week. Carbs, if we're playing 36 holes, kind of want to load up on those. It's going to be a long day walking 36 holes. And that was something I remember that blew your mind the first time, was like, so you're out there for like 10 hours walking, carrying your bag, and playing golf?
Right.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something like in college we laughed about. There was different sports players, and they were like, so what did y'all do this weekend? We're like, we walked 36 holes. We were out there. We got there at like, 7, warmed up, and we didn't leave till like 7 that night. By the time we finished 36, and we're like, well, we need to work on something for tomorrow's round. And they're like, what? That's like all day. And I'm like, yeah, golf is a longer sport, but if you're not physically fit, there's no way you're going to be able to perform on that first hole just as well on that 36th hole.
Right. Yeah, and I put it in terms of crazy because of all the athletes that I've worked with and stuff, there are, And like you stated, just so many aspects of golf and breaking it down that you're looking at the long game, the short game. I think more than almost any other sport that I can think of. And you know, I've trained and worked with athletes in every sport, but I mean, like you said, it is an all-day thing. Like your nose is in the books. You're constantly reading. You're focused on breathing exercises, and then you're doing the physical aspect of it in the gym, and then you were stating about the technology that's out available now where, and where it's like just basically dissecting everything in your swings and stuff, and you're hooked up to computers. And so it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the fun part. You know, Brad and I will joke, we're kind of in the little lab because we've got TrackMan right there. We've got K-Vest we can throw on at any point, body track under my feet, Sam Putt Lab for putting. There's a new thing we're working with called Hack Motion. I mean, the technology that we're using, it can seem a bit excessive at times, but it's necessary. You know, there's what recently we were talking, and I'm trying to move something 1 to 2 degrees. And the way my coach broke that down to sort of give me patience as I'm working on this is think about a clock. There's that second hand ticks 60 times all the way around the clock. Well, from one second, that hand moves 6 degrees. Like think about it. Every second that ticks, it's moving 6 degrees to make that 360-degree circle. And I'm trying to move something 1 to 2 degrees. Like it feels like a lot, you know, when I'm trying to swing, but in reality, 1 to 2 degrees, that's not a lot, but it can make a big difference. And it's like patience, you know, and that's one thing that I've sort of I've struggled with, I should say, especially early on, junior golf, college golf, and even for a small bit during the first part of my professional career. You sort of touched on it, talking about mentally, you know, how much this game requires. And so my first year as a professional, I really, really struggled there. And that was sort of like, I know I'm good enough, but I'm in position after 2 rounds and I'm going into the final day, and then I don't play nowhere near my potential. And I'll miss the cut or I won't make a check, all because of I worried about things I can't control, like how much money I'll make or, you know, making the cut, because you don't know who's going to move up or down. You can't control the other golfers you're playing with. And so by the end of that first year, I really started going, listen, just play your game. Everything will take care of itself. Just focus and control what you can control. And so that's a big motto that I've had, is control the controllables. You know, I can't control what my playing partners do. You know, I can only control what I do. And if I can control what I do and I execute my game plan, things are going to end well. They'll be in my favor. Because I believe I'm good enough. And if I believe I'm good enough and I know that if I do X, Y, and Z, then I will shoot, you know, somewhere here at the end of the day. And that will put me in a position here. Everything will be fine. You know, you can't control the weather. So when you wake up and it's raining, guess what? They make rain gear. I have rain gear. We've practiced in rain. We know how to handle those situations. So there's no reason to freak out. You know, if it's really cold outside, guess what? We've got, you know, another jacket we can throw on. And it's all about staying in the present and staying within yourself. That really, I heard a lot in college. One thing I heard a lot in college was, KT, you're in your own way. Just got to get out of your own way. I had no idea. Like I was processing. I was like, I get it, but like, I don't really know how to get out of my own way. Like, can you explain that? Couldn't get it explained. But it's about not being in the present is what it means. You're jumping forward. You're living in the past. Whatever it is, you're not right here, right now. One thing that I've really enjoyed, especially in the last like year and a half, is learning how to take in the moment. You know, whether that's sitting on the beach and just closing my eyes, listening to the waves crash, feeling the breeze, the sand between my toes, just taking in the moment. And that has helped me in golf, being in the moment. You know, what's going on? Like, yeah, it's hot out here. You know, yeah, the wind's blowing. It's, you know, blowing across my face. You know, it's this way. Or the ground feels a little soft. Yeah, it's because it rained, you know, yesterday. Just whatever you have to do to be in the present. do that. My assistant coach used to say, wiggle your toes. Casey, if you wiggle your toes, you've got to be here. And so that's something I'll do. I'll be walking down the fairway going, wiggle my toes. I'm like, oh, listen to the bird chirp. Whatever you have to do to distract yourself to be here and now, because you can't worry about what you just did. That's in the past. There's nothing you can change about it. You can only learn from it. So learn from it and move on. And then you can't worry about the future because it's not here yet. If you worry about the future or live in the past, then you're not taking care of the present moment. And if you take care of the present moment every second of every day, something good is going to happen.
It's nice to hear you talk about a lot of things that I've been hearing over and over again. And anybody watching the podcast can pick up on this thing. And as a yoga instructor, and also as a huge gym person like yourself, and I always talk about this, and my other guests have talked about that, the wonderful thing about how athletics and the gym transfer into life. And you actually were saying that, as you said, and you started off that answer to that question that I gave you, saying that, these are the things that I found that worked on my game. And then you transition it into saying how it's just helped in your life. And I've had a couple just really super successful yoga instructors on the show. And as a yoga instructor myself, we always try to talk about that. And that I brought that with you. So even when I'm training my clients, I like to get them into that same mindset of, hey, let's be completely present in this workout and what we're doing right now, so that, and you were even saying it, that I'm not thinking about my relationship with this person over here, or what's for dinner or something. I'm completely focused, on what I'm doing at this time. And that's what they literally call meditation. Meditation is, and when you break it down, is just being present. It doesn't have to be me sitting here chanting Om. And, the yoga instructors that I brought in on here, Steve Hubbard and Steve Procknell, they talked about the same thing. And, when I'm taking my clients through not just a yoga practice, but a strength and conditioning thing, how, me and you will start it. Well, basically, hey, let's bring our intention right here, right now, and then have those periods throughout that thing. And I always refer to, like, if you look at Muslims, how they set their day. In the morning, they pray. In the middle of the day. And I do that with my clients in the beginning, in the middle, and the start, and try to get them to be like, all right, hey, I want you to stop right now. What would you rate yourself on being present and fully engaged in this practice that you're doing? Are you half-assing it, or are you invested fully in? So to hear you say that is just reinforces that importance of being present. So you even said it, that you've even found that it's helped in your life.
Yes. That was something my sophomore year in college. For spring break, we had a golf tournament in Arizona. I think it was Flagstaff, to be exact. We weren't too far from the Grand Canyon. And so we decided to take the trip. And I remember, taking pictures and like, okay, I want to have these pictures to look back on, but at the same time going, I also want to look at this with my own eyes so I can reflect back, not just have to look at this picture and know what it looked like. And I feel like that's something the society is getting caught up in nowadays, is take a picture to post on Instagram. And instead of just actually you enjoying the moment and taking the moment in. I mean, I'm sure, like, my grandparents, they didn't have phones to take pictures of, way back when, they had that little Kodak maybe roll thing, and that might be even too modern, but, they take the picture and then it would develop, weeks later. But guess what? They looked at it with their own two eyes. They took it in that present moment now. And, I think that's just something we're starting to see with society. It's becoming so fast paced. And they're missing a lot, but that was the first time when we took that trip to the Grand Canyon that I remember going, you need to take this in. Yeah, you'll have these pictures to look back on, but the pictures, I knew then they weren't showing the depth of that canyon. And I was like, there's a feeling you have standing there looking down and looking out at the vastness of it. And you're like, wow, this is incredible. And I can show you those pictures today, and you're not going to have that feeling that I had standing there.
Right.
And if you're not present in that moment, you don't get everything that it has to offer. But I'm glad you mentioned, something briefly about being intentional. That's something my coach is huge on. He is very much a quality over quantity person. And, and I think that's important no matter what you're doing. I had a couple injuries in college that really sort of had to drive home that point of I physically cannot hit 300 golf balls right here, right now. I need to hit 30, and I need to make the most of these 30. It's going through your full routine, being present, going through those scenarios like we talked about. That's not just saying, okay, well, I want to hit it, at the flag. That's going water left, bunker right. Where do you want to go? And really just drawing it up right there on the range, visualizing your own number 2 on the die course at landfall, pins way in the back. It's the third day. You got the pitching wedge in your hand. Close your eyes, be there. Now hit the shot, execute. That way, when it is the third round of the landfall tradition and pins in the back, I'm like, hey, hit this 1,000 times. No big deal.
What it kind of reminds me of? I remember back in the day when we used to be playing football, and we were like, it's 2 minutes left, and it's, the Super Bowl, and what do you, and playing those scenarios. And it really is a lot similar to that, and,
Yep.
And put yourself in the position that, once you've gone over that a few times, it seems like it makes it a lot easier,
Yes. Well, and one thing that, I'll kind of draw upon, I'll make like 100 3-footers in a row, or I have this 6x8 drill. It's 8 tees in a circle, 6 feet out. And I like to either make those 100 3-footers in a row or those 8 6-footers in a row. And whenever I'm on the golf course and I've got a 3-footer and for some reason, might have, a nerve or something, I go, listen, you've made 100 of these in a row yesterday. Like, this is one. All you got to do is make this one now. You made 100 of them in a row yesterday. Just to be able to draw on that and drive home the point of, listen, I've made 100 of them. And I made 100 of them in a row. Like, this is one putt. Whatever you got to do, focus on this one putt right now. Knock it in. Visualize it going in. And maybe that you can say is replacing a bad thought of like, ooh, you're a little nervous, I might miss it. No. There's no time for that. This is breaking left to right about 2 inches, and we're going to hit it this speed in the back of the cup, and it's dropping 6 inches straight down. So that's actually a joke my dad and I have. We'll read a putt, and, I'll say, hey, what do you think about that? And he's like, I like it, but 6 inches straight down. Don't forget that last part. And that's our joke of, hey, that's the right break, but don't forget, it's got to go 6 inches down. That's how you hold it.
Right.
And so that's just a fun way how we, when he's caddying for me, we kind of confirm that, yeah, that's the line. Now go make it.
Do you play a lot of golf with your dad?
We do. So Dad was, kind of all I played with him, a guy named Kenny Stanley, Rob Conway, Danny Britt growing up. Those were sort of the 4 guys that I played a lot of golf with. Still play a lot of golf with them. They're great guys. I've learned a lot from them. They do anything for me. But, yes, my dad and I do play a lot. He is my go-to caddy. He knows my game very well. He spent enough time on the bag that he knows what works, what doesn't work. Right. So our relationship is pretty good out there.
Right. Now, is your dad able to go to a lot of your tournaments and things like that, or it just depends? I know from, I know he still works and it might be a little bit tougher on him, but I'm sure probably like him being there has got to have an effect on you.
Yes, he stays busy at work, but he's there for the big ones. He's there when I need him there. If I was, I called him and was like, hey, I need you this week. He finds a way to make it work. He's obviously there for Q School, for open qualifying, any sort of big events, where, there could be a lot on the line. He's there because a caddy is more than someone who just carries your bag. I don't want to say, to an extent, they're like a safety net. When you're indecisive, they're the one that can go, listen, I know you, I know your game. This is what it is. You know, trust that. Hit a good shot. You know, they're the one that can see when you're starting to get, you know, cluttered in your own mind, and they can go, hey, what'd you think about the game last night? You know, did you see that? You know, and you can just make small talk and pass the time and whatever it is to stay in that present moment, you know, because when those thoughts get sort of cluttery, that's when you're going, oh, you know, this happened on the last hole, or, you know, man, I've really got to get that up and down. It's like, no, we'll handle that when we get there. But for now, we're walking the 150 yards, whatever it may be, up to that shot. So we're going to chat and have a nice little conversation. So their job is not just carry my bag. You know, there were these 3 old rules, and, you know, we joke. It's called show up, keep up, and shut up. Those were the 3 rules of a caddy. You know, just be there on time, keep up with me, and we don't need any words. So just shut up, stay to the side. Like I'll handle the rest. But no, the caddy's job has evolved. There's a podcast I actually saw this morning. I haven't got a chance to listen to it yet, but it talks about that evolution of how caddies golf now is more a team sport and a we player and caddy than it is player, you know, like it used to be.
Yeah, you know, and to hear you talk about that, I mean, yeah, you're so right. I mean, that could be such like your rock, like in your,
Yes.
you know, I'm relating it to life. How wonderful it is to have a person in your life that you know that knows you, and knows when you get frazzled, and can just be there to just be like, hey, you know, let me give my opinion on this matter.
Yep. No,
So,
for certain.
right. And then, you know, I want to go back to, you know, being in that meditative state, Kayla, that you were talking about. You know, different things work for different. So I know that, you know, for my clients and my students, when I, you know, am trying to get them into being present, and you talked about it, and it's funny, like I think you see me laughing when you were talking about wiggling your toes, because I do that shit all the time. In fact, in one of my little journals, I'm sure I can pull up what I got, which is crazy. You have all my little tidbits. It's literally wiggle your fingers and your toes and your head to know that here I am. But
Yeah.
you know, we use our 5 senses, and that's as a yoga instructor and a coach of being present, right? I can either use my eyes, and you were talking about that physical aspect of it. You know, what do you feel that for you works the best for you to kind of get you grounded, so to speak?
Um,
Is it the physicality of like actually moving and feeling yourself in that space? I know you said, you know, that you were feeling the sun, or using that sense of feel, or.
I really think I just, you know, if I'm on a tee box, or, you know, if I'm somewhere and I'm like, what's going on? Just, can you feel the wind? You know, is there wind? Just whatever it is to feel now, you know, like just sitting here right now, like I can feel the breeze coming over my left shoulder. You know, I can feel how, you know, heavy my right leg feels right now. You know, whatever it may be, you know, I can feel that the ground's softer under my right foot versus my left. Whatever it is, it's just bringing you to awareness that is right now. But I just, a lot of times I like to close my eyes and just inhale, exhale, and then just take in my surroundings, listen to the birds chirp, little things like that. Watch a squirrel crawl up a tree. You know, just any little thing that can just bring you to something that is going on right now, I think is all you're after. But for me, I think it is just close my eyes, feel the wind. I really like the wind. Feel the wind, because that's something that's here and gone. You can't see it, you can only feel it.
Right. Well, like that.
And then obviously, you know, birds chirping.
I'm gonna
Sometimes
take
hard
that.
to find those. You can hear them.
I'm gonna take
Sometimes
that
hard to
one.
find.
Feel the wind.
Feel the
But
wind.
you know,
Yeah,
I
you
feel,
can't see
you
it, so
know,
you got to feel it.
and I think just, you know, me and us probably both being athletes in that physicalities and stuff. But I noticed for myself, and you know, breathing, and we talked about it. It's worked for you. That aspect of it really centers me of of focusing my attention on that breath. And that's why I asked you, because it seems to me that everybody kind of has a little bit of that different. For some, it's their eyes, where they're gonna, fully get the detail of something. And you were talking about that at being the Grand Canyon. And I think that both of us, maybe being that having that kinesthetic type thing, when I'm working out, I really do, for myself, can put myself a lot more in that meditative state of being present through the feel. But
Yeah.
you've also stated that there's those other senses that you're using, but I think for everybody it might be a little bit something different, and you want to find what kind of works for you. It may be one thing, it could be two. I know you just stated a couple of things that work for you. And I remember, I want to kind of rewind a little bit too before I get too far.
Yeah.
Would you state that you're like an analytical type person, like real good? Because like for me, it's like, and I kind of picture like golf, like, because I think pool, of having that kind of laser vision where you extend past it and you see that shot. And remember we were talking about this a little bit about, and there's like those couple types of golfers. What would you say that you're more? I kind of forgot where you were saying that you're at.
So my dad is a numbers guy, and I think I just sort of got those genes. I'm very analytical. I mean, I'm crunching. I'm processing situations. 3 steps away. It would take this to happen for what I'm thinking about, but I'm already, that car's turning, this car's doing this. I'm 3 steps ahead. I can't help it. My brain is, so I kind of have to like, no, like we're here and now. In golf, you really do have to have that balance. You have to have both. You've got to, walk off your yardage. Pins front, back, middle, left, right. This is what it is to cover the bunker. This is the wind. This is the slope adjustment. This is the kind of lie we've got. This one's gonna jump. This one's not gonna jump. We're gonna need to add a couple yards. So it takes a little bit of an analytical sort of to get to the number that it's playing. That shot is playing. But from there, you've got to really dive into the feel side. You've got to become an artist and create a shot. That to me, that challenge of, okay, it's going to play 146, wind's a little in the face, coming out of this lie, you might have to muscle something, or you might want to try and just, buttercut something in there. But these numbers, and then you're trying to pick a club, any club, and feel what it feels like to hit that shot. You can practice all you want on the range, but that's one sort of very boxy sort of thing. And yes, it's good to work on fundamentals, and that's where you want to do that. But real practice happens on the golf course. And any golf course owner and superintendent is probably going to kill me for saying this, but that's where you get better, practicing on the golf course. That doesn't mean, anybody listening go drop 4 or 5 balls in this one spot and whack them. No. But what that means is when you play, you're never going to face the same shot twice. And, you think about golf, tennis, basketball, baseball, softball, good grief, how many football, they're all played on the same measurement fields. This is how big a tennis court is. This is a basketball court. It's this far from a free throw line. Golf, totally different. First of all, we're changing golf courses each week. Second of all, that golf course doesn't play the same any 2 days. Day one, it could be really dry. They haven't had rain in a while, and really windy. And the very next day, we could have had a massive storm come through overnight, and now the golf course is soaked and it's playing wet and soft. Yes, we're on the same golf course, but it's like a totally different, golf course. Was firm and fast. Now it's wet and slow, and how do you make those adjustments? And so that's why I say practice on the golf course. The range, yes, that's a very block practice, but you need to practice that random practice of wind's in your face, wind's behind you, it's uphill, it's downhill, you're in the rough, you're in the fairway. there's so many variables in life, and there's so many variables in golf. And, you know, people say golf is one of those sports that you can relate to life. You get good breaks from bad shots, and you get bad breaks from good shots in golf and life. And it's how you respond is how good you are at adjusting to all these different variables that could be thrown your way. And that's when you're successful. That's when you'll win, because we know variables are coming at us. It's whoever can adjust to those the quickest and the best are the ones that will win that week, and the ones that will play well that week. You know, that to me is the fun part about golf. It's never the same. My swing's not the same. I wake up on my left side today. I woke up on my right side yesterday. Swing's going to be a little bit different. And so you have to be prepared to make those adjustments.
You know, one of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee, that's my man right there. And he talks about that the people that are able to adapt in life and what life throws at it, the quickest are the ones that are usually most successful.
Right.
And you can, like you said, you can see that golf is something just like any other, like completely different than any other sport, that you need to be and have that and focus on mastering that part.
Yes.
What would you say?
That is the game.
Yeah. And that's it. And I can see what a huge thing, a huge lesson to learn in life. And, and we talked about, and we had a few guests on here about the impact of the coronavirus and what that's done. And, and even you, I remember we were working right before you got into those tournaments, and then you basically had to turn yourself around and come back home when this thing hit. And I know because it was right around March, April, right? When things started warming up and you were going down there. And man, talk about being able to adapt to things, because here you are getting ready to go, and then now you have to pull back and go back home. What were some of the things that kind of get you through that? What do you feel that I had yoga instructors that I was telling you about that came on here. And just like myself, I've lost a lot of my clients over that. And then you can see I kind of, started doing these podcasts. What were things or the mindset that kind of got you over, the hard times that we're experiencing right now?
Yeah, it was very different. And I've talked to some of my friends who were sort of in the same boat about it. And you come out of your off season, you work really hard to get ready for the start of the year, the start of the season, whatever you want to call it. And, have a tournament in Florida, have a tournament in Louisiana. We were preparing to travel to Mississippi for the next one. And our tournament director's like, so I was on the phone, and then all of a sudden they were like, no, we're not having this. The mayor called, said, you're not coming to town. And we're like, oh, okay. So I'm coming home now. So we need to cancel that hotel, and we need to pack up at the end of this and leave. Fortunately, I had two good tournaments to sit on, because, if I had had two bad tournaments, that would have been a lot of mental stuff to kind of go, no, listen, I'm ready. We're ready to come back. Fortunately, I was like, listen, I'm starting to play really, really good. I'm really excited for where things are heading. Let's keep this grind up. So there was a lot of positivity and a lot of, I was able to feed off of, in short, a lot of good stuff. And you come home and you're like, okay, we didn't know when we were hitting the road again. So should we take 2 weeks off, or should we just keep working at it the same pace, as if, this is just an off week, we'll be back on the road in a little while. I mean, you had no idea. And so you really just have to go, we got to keep getting better. What does that take? Are we maybe going to go at it at full speed since we're not exactly sure? No, because we want to be recovered, and ready to go for when we do head back out. But it is that grind of, what do I need to do to be ready for when that call comes? Hey, we're playing. Staying on top of that.
What would you say? What motivates you? Like, or what do you use to motivate you to? We talked about your schedule and keep going out there and keeping focused.
Truthfully, there's nothing externally that really motivates me. You know, it's not like I'm doing this so one day I can drive this car or live in this house. You know, all of my motivation comes from within. It's me wanting to be the best I can be, the best person I can be, the best golfer I can be. And then what will that require? That's what wakes me up in the morning. You know, I saw your, you know, that made me think of the post you had made earlier today about the clock. You know, your passion gets you up. You know, when I wake up, it's that passion inside of me of, I want to be the best I can be. I'm not okay with myself. I'm not going to be okay with myself if I don't give it everything I've got. If I don't put everything I can into it and work as hard as I can, because at the end of the night, you know, you lay in bed and you're like, I could have done more. And that's an uneasy feeling. Maybe, you know, that might not be a feeling everybody has, but to me, that's a competitiveness that you can't teach. And we've talked about stuff like that before. You can't teach drive. And I don't think drive can come externally. I think that has to be something that comes from internal. Something external, if it's a car, if it's a house, if it's, you know, whatever it may be that motivates you, if this amount of money motivates you, those things can be taken away. What motivates you from within can never be taken away. So the drive that I have to be the best I can be, no one can take that from me, because no matter what I'm doing, I want to do it the best I can.
Would you say that you drive for inspiration? Is there a person, or like, you know, what kind of things, you know, and we've talked about this now, and I remember you showing me some of the books. Both of us love David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, but you know, so is it books? Do you some of the podcasts that you've given me that, you know, what are some of the things that will keep you inspired, to keep you going?
You know, sometimes I'm on the way to the golf course and, you know, a song comes on. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, you know, it just really pumps you up. You know, it could be a song. It could be a podcast. I completed 75 Hard not too long ago. And Andy has a podcast called Hard AF. And he's got some really motivational stuff on there. And so, you know, some of his podcasts are short, some of his other ones are long, but there might be a 20-minute podcast I turn on driving to the golf course, and I'm like, let's do this. You know, one of his podcasts was talking about you reflecting on your last 1,000 days. And did you do everything you could do in those last 1,000 days to be where you want to be today? How many of you can say yes? How many of it's no? How many of it's no, I'm close? How many of it's no, I'm nowhere near? You know, and it's like, you know, you've got 1,000 days, you know, starting today. Are you going to be where you want to be? Are you going to give it everything that it requires? And so things like that will motivate me. If I had I don't have like, to me, there's not this one person that's like perfect to be a role model. So I might pick Jennifer Aniston for her style, or, you know, someone else for something else. But I would have to say a role model would be Jurina Pillar. And I've been fortunate enough to meet her, to sort of hang out with her on and off the golf course and kind of get to know her as a person. And she is an extraordinary person. Someone that, you know, I would say I do look up to. She plays on the LPGA. She's represented the United States in several Solheim Cups and in the Olympics. The way I got to meet her was through College Golf Fellowship. And so we had a retreat at her house with several other girls, and we went through the Book of Ruth. And so to kind of come together with faith and golf and her put this on, that was something that was really fun. Like I said, that's how I got to know her. But as a golfer, as a person, she's an incredible person. I don't think I can emphasize that enough. That is something that I would want to do. You know, I want to be, you know, that person that hosts that retreat, you know, and I bring other fellow girl golfers in, and we go through a book of the Bible, and we come together and fellowship over, you know, what it may be. But as far as, you know, that would be the closest, you know, I feel like, is Jarena as a role model.
Did you hear you? And then you talk about music, and it's like, it's crazy because, I DJ and I love that. And I often forget about that, but just one song would take it. Like, and you were playing that one hip hop song to me, and both of us were like, hell yeah. But
I will wear out a song in a heartbeat now. Like, yeah. It's on repeat for hours. Like, there's no need to listen to anything
That's
else.
The same
it's
thing.
the one song.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because the same thing this morning. I had this song, and I was just like, same thing. Oh, let's do it again. And then it was funny, like that one time when you were playing that hip hop song, and me and you were just like, just jamming out. But I would say the same thing that you just touched on. I use a lot of multiple different things and people and books, and I think it's just, you got to find those things, and there are a whole bunch of different things, and the same thing, like you. I mean, I thought, like, just know, like I said, with knowing you, that you're right here. I mean, just put a fire under my ass when I speak to you, being in your presence, and I'm sure you can say that about that person that you were just talking about. When you're in the presence of a person like that, it just, and you've probably heard that quote, you are the company that you keep. And it really is, you're either hanging out with a bunch of losers or pulling you down. But when you're around, and that's what I brought this podcast for, is to bring a community of being in cotton picking North Carolina. How am I going to up my game? Well, you know what? Let me see if I can find a way to get these. And that's the wonderful thing about technology, and I agree with you, Toe. I always say that social media is a blessing and a curse, but it needs more things like this, so that, I can get, and people to be able to pull from things that you just talked about, that they maybe can use in their life as well. And so go ahead.
Well, I think also, to the point you're making, here we are, and you call it cotton picking North Carolina. I mean, here we are in a small town. I joke when people ask, they say, where are you from? I'm like, well, if everyone's home, there's about 800 people who live there, if everyone's home. And I think that just emphasizes and goes to show you that no matter where you're from, a town as small as we're in, where I'm from, there's someone there working hard, doing big things. Reach out. I mean, who would think in this town, there's someone like you, Eric, if they're wanting to lose weight, if they're wanting to get stronger, if they're wanting to get their beach bod, ready for the summer, there's a resource there. There's resources everywhere. And you just have to be willing to take the time and look. If you want to just sit back and let it fall in your lap, like, good luck. That's not going to happen. And the people that's been on your podcast, they're the go-getters. You don't wait for anything to come to you.
No. And and I don't know where I'll end up in my life and stuff. And, and you and I talked about it, and, but I know that this town is my favorite town, because it really is. And I'll never, no matter what happens, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but this is the town that I grew and was able to find people like you and bring these things, and literally has changed my mindset, because I went from that of being, and I joke around with that, and it's not trying to put it down at all or anything, but I love the country, and probably same as you, Kayla. I love being isolated from a lot of people, and there's the pros and cons of it. And, but it really is a place that I've seen the most growth in my life ever, and I'll never forget it, and, and coming across somebody like you, and, and that's another thing I want you to talk about, is just, obviously, to get to the point where you're at, what would you say are the daily habits that you feel are, when we've talked about eating and stuff like that with some of the other guests on here, that have gotten you to the point where you're at, and that you feel are going to keep you growing as an individual?
I think, it's make a list of things you want to do every day. This list could be 3 things you want to stop doing. I want to quit with the junk food, whatever those 3 things may be. 3 things you want to start doing. So what are you going to stop that's negatively affecting what you're after, and 3 things you're going to start to positively affect what you're after, and then what are 3 things you're going to keep doing to reach those goals. For me, obviously, this sport requires gym time, physically fit, cardio, and obviously practice on the golf course. I've been dabbling with Whoop for a little while and starting to pinpoint some things that positively affect, negatively affect. What I found, hydration. Being properly hydrated is something I'm striving for every day. An ice shower, taking a cold shower for at least a minute. I'm starting to see benefits my body. Blue light blocking glasses are helping. So those are 3 things I know from using Whoop. Here comes our train.
Yeah,
from using Whoop.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay. 3 things. Those are 3 things I found from using Whoop that are best for my body to perform, to affect my recovery. But that's, a Whoop conversation. When I'm at the golf course, driving, chipping, pitching, putting. To me, those 3 parts of your game always have to be on point. If you can't get it off the tee, then you're behind the 8 ball from the start. Your short game, chipping and putting, they'll save you if you're having a bad day, and they'll turn what could be a good day into a great day. So those are aspects that I'm always trying to work on when I'm practicing. Obviously playing, trying to make it challenging, put something on the line, whether that's push-ups or, it's $5 going in a jar, or I'm playing, little Johnny over here, and if I lose, $20 going his way. Whatever it is to challenge yourself, bring you in the moment, put some pressure on it, have some skin in the game, to test yourself. I think that's great. Obviously in the gym, it's about basic strength and fitness. There's a lot, we've done with bands. I'm not in there barbell benching. I'm not in a squat rack, over here trying to do my 1 rep max. That's not what golf requires. So sometimes I'm in there, especially when I got out of college and I'm used to just being in this safe environment of, oh, that's what she's doing for her sport. That's what soccer's doing for their sport. Like, oh, that's interesting. Now they're probably like, what is she doing? What are we doing? Because some of the things we do, they're different. We'll hold a plank with our feet up against the wall, or some of the golf exercises that I'm doing, they look weird, but they're benefiting. I see the results on the course in my swing. And so, who cares what people think? Do what you have to do to get the results that you need. So yeah, there's things, I try. COVID's really changed the gym up though. So I was trying to do a lot of band work. My dad has a couple free weights, so I was holding free weights to like a little circle, and like trying to hold them in my hands and do different stuff just to move, or anything I could do with bands to stay active during COVID. I did 75 hard during COVID, so you had to do 2 workouts a day. So that was, walking, running, sprints, yoga, some of that strength training, Body by Trainer. She has a Instagram account with some really cool workouts. They're like 45 minutes long, and they're pretty much body weight to really small weights. You don't even need a gym for them. So those are the things that it's like, listen, I've got to figure out a way to get creative with COVID because this has to get done. So there's all kinds of stuff, but whatever it is, in the end, it is going to positively affect my goals of, winning a tournament, winning multiple tournaments, having full status on the LPGA tour, playing in Solheim, representing the United States in Olympics. My goals aren't small, and I don't care because that's what I'm after.
No, and then to hear you talk about your daily routine and everything, it's just it's motivating. And you talk a lot about similar things about moving your body, and then being intentional in what you're doing during the day, and bringing your attention and going back and having that discussion with yourself. Am I, taking those steps forward, or am I hindering myself? Am I last 1,000 days? Am I doing, and having that honest, that discussion with yourself, and you start seeing that in a lot of, people that are like you don't settle for mediocrity. And I would say myself, I can't, I will never live with myself. And that's what, like you talked about my post today, where it's o'clock, it was like literally 3 a.m. I was like, shit, here we go again. But it's not work.
Right.
And you stated, you treat it like that, like your 8-hour workday. When you're doing something like this, people would say, oh, I gotta sit here and talk to Kayla Thompson for an hour. I'm like, you could probably get my, my Instagram post. I was like, hell yeah, I'm talking to Kayla Thompson. She's gonna spend a day with me, because, Kayla, you are somebody that really, honest to God, just, the same thing. I gotta calm my ass down before we had this podcast. So, you and I were talking a little bit beforehand, because I get excited and just talking with somebody like you and being in your presence that I stated. And it was so wonderful to know that here you were, because, I stated that in my life at that time, I was going through such a hard time in the middle of nowhere. And when I heard you were like, oh shit, I just lived down the street from you. Oh my God, it just took me to a whole nother level. And the same thing of when we work out, when we train, when I talk to you on the phone, when I text you, anything like that, it just, you can feel that energy is coming off of you. And I can see, as your friend, just why you are in the position that you are. And I wish I had more time with you, because, me and you can bullshit all day.
Yeah, we could. We do most days.
Yes, we do. And so I know you got to get going, Kayla, but I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you taking the time, and you being you, and being that bad motherfucker that I talked about, because it really does. And already you are that person that you talked about, that you want to become, because I'm a person that can fully say that to you, that you are an inspiration to me. And I appreciate that you are here, and that you are a friend, and that we can conversate and get together, because it really does. It takes me to a whole nother level. And I truly believe the people that will be watching this, the same thing as well. And you've dropped some valuable information that I truly feel is beneficial, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. We've talked about this for a little while, so I'm glad we were able to get this podcast out. And I really do hope it helps. But I'll leave you with this. Maggie Will was from Whiteville, not too far from here, and she was the one I was telling you about earlier, who won 3 times on the LPGA tour. Coming from an area like this where there's not, how we talked about all these lavish resources at the end of our fingertips, she made it. And she won, and she won multiple times. And one thing she told me was, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, but it's not. But I believe you can do it. Whatever it is that you're after, it's not easy. If it's a weight loss journey, if it's, winning this year's, conference championship, whatever it is, winning the member guest or the club championship, whatever it may be, figure out what you have to do to be in the best position, to take care of business, and then at all cost, put the work in and get it done.
Oh man, thank you, Kayla. I'm gonna keep coming back and watching this and taking. I already got some stuff written down that just, again, Kayla's dropping them gems. And Kayla, I appreciate it again. I know you got to get out of here, and I'll be talking to you soon. Well, hopefully we can get a workout in here soon. So drop me a text. Let me know when you got some available time, and I'll make sure that I reschedule or I set that time aside. Okay. So thanks again. I appreciate it a ton, Kayla.
Sounds good. Thank you, Eric.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Adios.
Bye.